Okay, ready? Okay, welcome everybody. We are here today for our Let's Keep Talking Parent and Caregiver series. Our first session is on internet safety. We have with us Officer Matt Barris from the Marshfield Police Department. Please feel free to ask any questions as we go along, and there'll be time for questions at the end as well. This program is brought to you by the Everett Roehl Marshfield Public Library, the School District of Marshfield, and MACY, which is Marshfield Area Coalition for Youth. So we welcome you and we hope you enjoy the program.
All right. Thanks for having me. Thanks for coming, everybody. And for everyone live streaming, welcome here. And we'll be having this available to come back and watch anytime that you want. So it'll be available for you. So my name, like Joanne said, is Detective Matt Barris. I'm from the Marshfield Police Department. Right now I'm kind of getting into internet crimes against children, that kind of thing. Before that, I was a school resource officer for 6.5 years at the high school. And before that, I was a patrol officer. So I've been working for Marshfield Police Department for, it'll be 17 years in December. So, we give presentations like this all the time. And, hopefully we can try to impact as many people as possible. Hey, welcome. Try to get to as many people as possible about internet safety. Just because the internet is all around us, we're dealing with it on a day-to-day basis. Just in Marshfield alone, the amount of issues we have with our students in the high school, middle school, elementary school with the internet, as well as scams with adults and stuff like that. I'm sure you've seen a lot of online frauds and scams. Being in the detective bureau, we see our fair share of frauds that come through to us. Meeting people online and believing that they're who they say they are, and then they'll accept money from people and then get scammed that way when they're not who they say they are. So there's a lot of stuff going on with that, and hopefully we can talk a little bit about internet safety and how we can be safer and impact our kids online. So we'll dive into that. This presentation is a big part created by the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. So that's a national clearinghouse that receives cyber tips. So any issues involving exploitation of children, any kind of internet crimes like that, it gets reported to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. So it's called NECMEC. So if you hear me say NECMEC, that's what it means. So all incidents of child sexual abuse material, any kind of photos and stuff like that get sent to them for identification, so they can try to figure out if they know a child or can identify a child. So they have multiple presentations. They're called Net Smarts. That's can be based towards adults, kids in varying grade levels, and it's very interactive for the younger kids too. So we'll get into that, and basically the premise of this is helping kids develop critical thinking skills online, trying to be a trusted adult, learning how to be a trusted adult, and looking for some red flags that we can see online, or when our kids are being involved in something that is probably not good online internet activity. So like I said before, NetSmarts goes after K through 12 grades. So they want to empower children to report unsafe behaviors or victimization. They want them to be problem solvers online, and they want to encourage kids to have conversations with each other, because that's the big thing is, as adults, we are able to communicate with kids and let them know and educate them on this kind of stuff, so that when they grow up, they know what to look for and know what's not right and what's wrong and how to report that kind of stuff. So basically looking for risky behavior and having conversations with them about that. So who's got kids right now? Who's got kids or grandkids or anything like that? Okay. Do we know what our kids are doing online? What kind of things do we know? What kind of things our kids are involved with right now? Like, how old are your kids?
Mine?
Yeah.
10 and 8.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's a good age level. They're probably getting into that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of stuff do they do? Do you know?
What are they
like
watching?
gaming or
it's usually, so my son will watch people talk about playing video games.
Yeah.
Yep. Like that's a big thing. Watch these people explain what they're doing with Minecraft.
Yep.
And saying that.
Yep.
then go and play it as well.
Yeah.
And my daughter she likes interacting with her friends, so she'll talk on Kids Messenger.
Yeah.
On Facebook Messenger with her friends.
Yep.
And yeah, it's very much about having to monitor those conversations
Absolutely.
too, as the parent, and having the access on my phone so I can see, okay, this is a little bit, let's talk about this, because it's a little bit concerning and
that's perfect. I have 3 kids that are 8, 6, and 4. So my 8-year-old is starting to get it. He watches the same stuff, watching people talk about Minecraft or how to build stuff on Minecraft and everything like that. So getting into the YouTube and YouTube Kids and Facebook Messenger and that kind of stuff. So that's a great age group to start talking to kids online and trying to figure out like what they're into. So that's a good starting point at that age, is to start talking to kids about internet safety. What are some good things to be involved in? What are some things that they shouldn't be involved with online, and kind of educating them at that point. So the earliest we can do that kind of stuff, the better. But kids can do a number of things online right now. They're born into an age where the internet is already around, right? Like, I'm a millennial. I was born before the internet and during the creation of the internet. So we're kind of an in-between age here. So for me, it's kind of interesting, because we were with dial-up. So dial-up was ridiculously slow, but it didn't feel like that at that time, right? But kids now are born into streaming and internet that's, gigabytes fast, that they can download anything, at the drop of a hat, pretty much super fast. My kids, when they watch anything on streaming, they see a 30-second commercial and they get irritated because they have to sit and wait through that commercial. So before the internet, we had to sit through minutes of commercials every 10 minutes, just about.
And they're
So,
ads now, they're not called.
And they're ads. Yes, they're not commercials anymore. They're ads. So our kids have that kind of impatientness about them that they can't sit through that kind of stuff. But so everything they're involved in pretty much involves the internet now. Even at school, the programs that they're involved in, they're all getting iPads, so they're using iPads online, check their grades online, constant communication with each other online. So that's the kind of things that we're looking at with our kids getting involved in. Just as a school resource officer for the 6 years at the high school, we've seen our fair share of anything these kids can get involved in online and get in trouble with that kind of stuff, or be victimized by somebody online. We've seen it there. So social media is a huge thing, and it can be either a really good thing or it can be detrimental to a kid's mental health too. And throughout this series, we'll talk about kind of like have mental health presentations as well, and suicide prevention presentations as well. And sometimes what your kids do online can affect their mental health as well too. So we'll talk a little bit about that. So online, like, how do kids go online? How do they get online? It can be pretty much everything is online. It's called an Internet of Things. So like Alexa, that's online. Anything Google Home, Apple has their online platforms. Portal by Facebook is an online thing where you can talk to other people online or reach Facebook online. Any kind of cell phone can use online. It doesn't even have to be a phone that has usable service on it or anything like that. Most kids don't even pay for cell phone plans anymore. They just use Wi-Fi and talk to each other via Wi-Fi. So things are kind of changing with cell phone plans, and that's why cell phone plans really don't care about. There's like unlimited talk is just built into the cell phones now because nobody talks to each other anymore, obviously. And people use data more than minutes. Okay. When I had my first Nokia block cell phone when I was 18 years old, it was my parents. I remember it was 10 cents per text message that you had to send to somebody. So it was very frowned upon. My parents were not very happy when you texted a couple people and it was 10 cents. It started racking up sometimes. So now we've turned into where everybody communicates via Messenger, either Facebook Messenger, Snapchat Messenger, TikTok, Kik, anything like that. Any kind of platform you can think of, that's how they're communicating with each other. So they're reaching online platforms any way imaginable. Some kids might have several phones, so if they get their phone taken away, they'll have a backup phone or, things like that. So Gaming, if you want to game, PlayStation, Xbox, the Switch, Nintendo Switch are all internet accessible hardware systems. VR, yes. So you have Facebook VR. There's a ton of different VR simulations that you can do.
Optimus 2.
Yep. Yep. And then you had like the Facebook world you can jump in on and talk to people, or the metaverse and talk to people online that way. So there's a number of different ways that people can reach online services. Basically, it's not hard to find. Most places offer free Wi-Fi, so kids will park it somewhere, use Wi-Fi.
That to me seems kind of safe because it's an avatar. It's not really
Yeah.
them. And as long as they don't give out information.
And that's the thing, and that's the problem, is that some people do give out that information, or there are some people on there strictly to offend on other people that we need to worry about. And that's why we need to educate people on, what to look out for, what not to give out to people. And it can be a good thing. It can be a fun thing for people to enjoy that kind of stuff, but there's some issues that go along with that as well. And that's all in everyday world too, is, you teach your kids, don't talk to strangers. Well, do you teach that online as well? They need to know that online too, because there's a lot of people online that are trying to exploit you or their kids. So our technology, can only catch so much. Tracking software, that kind of stuff you can put on someone's phone, or you can see what they're doing and everything like that. You can see what your kid's doing online. But the big thing is just communicating with your kids, or communicating with each other on this kind of stuff. If we have conversations with our kids about this stuff at an early age, they're going to be more apt to trust us and want to reach out and talk to us and want to provide all this information to us. And they're not going to be scared to do that, because sometimes, there may be a situation where a kid runs into something where they're going to be afraid to come forward and report it. They may be exploited online, where maybe a photo of themselves may get out, and they're going to be afraid to come forward and say something about that, in fear of in fear of thinking of getting in trouble, or that you're going to be scolding them, or they're going to be embarrassed for that kind of stuff. So starting out in a non-judgmental way as kids, talking to them, making sure that you portray yourself as a trusted adult and make them feel like they can generally trust you, for them to come forward to you is a big thing. So communication is really key. And we can't stress that enough about, setting boundaries with other people online, consent, healthy relationships with people too. So as people get older, they're going to get into relationships, and some of those relationships may start online. I've seen that more times than not, that people get into relationships through meeting with each other on Snapchat, and they've never met them before, and they're from different states. And it's just crazy to me that they've gone on for months and months talking with each other and never met each other before, but it happens. It happens quite frequently as kids get older. With this kind of stuff, kids actually want to hear from you about this, or kids want to talk about this. And like I said before, and I'll stress it a lot, is getting to them young enough to where you talk to them about this stuff, they're going to want to listen to you about it. Okay. That's just how it is. Like, you build enough trust with somebody and you have enough conversations with this stuff. Same thing with drugs, same thing with alcohol, same thing with making, healthy choices overall in their lives. If you talk about this stuff at length for, from the time they pick up any kind of device to when they're older, they're going to trust you and listen to you. So there's just a video of that.
Perspective, growing up with somebody like yourself, for parents, it's a huge thing to have the ability to just listen and have an open dialogue, because at the end of the day, children don't have anybody to ask about how life works. They're just thrown into this crazy world, and they have no idea how to interact with it and interpret it. And they need somebody like a parent, whether it's their parent or somebody else's, to help them learn that and understand that. And if you're not providing that to your kid, they're gonna have some problems online, right? It's just the name of the game.
That's true. And is everyone familiar with TikTok around here? Does everyone know what TikTok is? Okay. That's pretty much what everyone's on it. Literally everybody. There's billions of people on TikTok. all the time. And at the end of my position at the school, it was becoming more and more prevalent on talking to each other on TikTok or making videos towards other people on TikTok or bullying people via TikTok. So that's the platform, the big platform right now that people are reaching each other on, and kids spend hours and hours on TikTok, literally hours on it. Sometimes if you sit and look at it, you'll look up and you'll realize that an hour passed by just because of all the stuff that you're looking at. So that's TikTok. So we'll look at online risks. Some online risks are, of course, the inappropriate content, online privacy, how to maintain your online privacy. And there's always people trying to get at your information at any age. Online enticement, people that are going after, and it can be kids, it can be adults, but mainly trying to go after kids, grooming them to do inappropriate things for them or meet up with them. The big one is sexting that happens all the time, and it happens at an early age. The statistic that they had on here said that it's gone down to the age of 9 where people are being solicited for this images and stuff like that of themselves. But it is pretty prevalent at the middle school and high school ages, but it has gone down into the elementary school ages, just as things progress like that. Sextortion, does anyone know what sextortion is offhand? So basically, sextortion would be somebody you don't know, somebody you might meet on Snapchat or something. This is typically what happens is they'll send a photo of themselves nude. Typically a female to a male will send the male a nude photo of themselves, and they'll say, send me a picture of yourself and I will send you more photos of myself. So they'll do that without thinking, and then that person will then screenshot that photo and say, send me this much money or I am going to blast all these pictures out to all your friends and all your family, and I'm just going to keep bothering you. I'm just going to send all your pictures everywhere unless you keep giving me money. And so kids fall into these traps, and I've seen a lot of times where they end up buying gift cards and sending them to these people to try to get them to stop that. But a lot of times it doesn't. If they don't send it to them, they move on to the next person, and they don't send that stuff out to anybody. But that's another thing that we have to try to overcome as well. And then another big thing that happens, and it's pretty bad for everybody's mental health and kids' mental health especially, is cyberbullying. It's an ongoing thing that's never ending for kids, and it's totally different, in my opinion, totally different from bullying back in the day. And we'll talk about that later. But cyberbullying is, depending on a kid's access to technology, is a 24/7 harassment instead of a cut off bullying at school where they get time elsewhere to kind of rest from that kind of harassment. So like we said, talk about the risks at every single age. The kind of things you want to talk to younger children about early on would be like, it's called etiquette, like how to behave online with other people. Obviously don't be harassing people online or bullying people online. Don't use vulgar language. Don't send inappropriate pictures to people online. Being a good online citizen is something that you can ingrain in a kid at an early age. Like, you teach them in real life or everyday situations. Obviously, if you're going to a grocery store or going to a store out in the public, you say, what are they supposed to do? They're not supposed to swear. They're not supposed to swear in general, but behave themselves out in public. Okay. Behave themselves out in public. Be responsible, make good decisions, that kind of stuff. And that's what we want to start building as a kid with them, is the proper etiquette online. We want to talk about with the younger kids about looking at inappropriate content. If they see inappropriate things or things that they feel uncomfortable with, what they can do or what steps they should take, or reporting it to somebody. Pop-ups and passwords you want to talk to them about, just about password security, not sharing passwords with people, because that happens all the time too. If somebody has a Snapchat account and they want to save their streaks and they're not going to have access to Snapchat, they'll give their password to another kid and say, hey, save my streaks. That means like sending a message to one of their friends every day it keeps the streak going. And so that's kind of a thing for them. So if they can't make it on Snapchat that day, they give their password to another kid to send a message to their friends so that they can keep the streak going. So that's kind of a thing that they're doing. So something like that. And so people share passwords a lot, and that's an issue. And not trusting everyone you meet online. Everyone wants to trust everybody, and I get that. And we're not running into people out in real life where you come across somebody that looks super suspicious, or somebody that you get a bad vibe off of, when you meet on the street, or somebody that says, hey, I got this in my van. Like, we don't teach that. I mean, it's good to teach that, but that stuff doesn't really happen a lot anymore. And we kind of got to shift gears on who we have to look out for, or how we, build, or how we teach our kids who to trust, who not to trust, and that maybe that person online that you're talking to isn't who they say they are. Because these people jump on like Roblox or Minecraft on those internet games or online games, and they'll portray themselves as a 13-year-old, and they're not really 13 years old. And then they'll say, hey, come talk to me on Kick Messenger and we can have cyber conversations. And then they'll start talking to each other there, and then they'll be groomed, and then they'll meet up and that kind of stuff. So that's how it happens. So that's some stuff as younger kids that you can talk to them about. Basic stuff that you would teach them not online, out in the real world, you can teach them online. We get to tweens and teens. You can really start getting into more mature stuff, like the cyberbullying stuff, teaching them empathy. Like empathy is a big thing. A lot of kids don't think of that empathy because they're sitting behind a keyboard. But teaching them, how would that person feel, or how would you feel if somebody did this to you, kind of thing. And we can really go through that with them. Obviously, the sexting thing. We've hammered it into these kids so many times, and they still do it. And it's unfortunate, but their brains aren't developed yet. They're flying up the seat of their pants a lot of times and not thinking about what they do. And with the internet, you can send something off in a second and not think about it, and then it's going to come back and haunt you. So, those are the things that you gotta try to teach them about, and hope that it sticks in their head long enough that before they send something out, they stop and think and critical think and says, is this a good idea for me to send this out to somebody? So that's the big thing, is getting them to stop for a second and think about what they're doing. If they can do that and think critically and think about, should I be doing this? Then that's a good sign. And we as adults can do that too, because there's a lot of scammers out there that are trying to get your information. And for us to stop and think for a second, like, does the Social Security Administration really call me on the phone and say I have a warrant for my arrest? I don't know about that, because that happens a lot. Or is my grandson,
He's 86 and he's been scammed over
Yep.
and over, and I tell him,
don't even answer the phone. And, is my grandkid locked up in Canada right now and needs to get bailed out of jail? That kind of stuff happens too all the time. So we as adults fall for it too. And, it's that type of thing where we now more than ever have to stop and take a second to think, like, is this really legit or not? Because really everything online, or really everything that we see now, could it be misinformation or not? We don't know anymore. So that's why we have to look at the big picture on everything and try to decide whether or not it's real or not. Even with AI now, a person may not even be a person online that they portray themselves to be. They can make themselves look like anybody they want. I have an app that can make me look like a 12-year-old girl right now. And I have a picture of it, and I can show you, and it's horrifying, but I think anybody online would probably, if they're trying to exploit a kid, they would probably go after me, I'm guessing. But there are free apps that you can turn yourself into somebody else, and it's pretty scary, but they're out there. So sexting, posting personal and inappropriate information, just getting them not to post like their everyday whereabouts on where they are all the time to somebody, or post online where they're at all the time, or checking in all the time, or those kind of patterns. People pick up on patterns like that. Inappropriate information, just about themselves, getting that stuff out there, and meeting offline, deciding who you're going to meet offline. People meet people online all the time, and that's a good thing sometimes. And it expands like friendships and everything like that, and lots of people meet each other. But meeting somebody offline is a big step to cross, and sometimes it can be somebody who they don't think, and they get caught up in this and get victimized. And it's unfortunate, but it happens all the time. And that's what we want to try to avoid. So for younger kids, there's a program online called Into the Cloud. It kind of makes it like a cartoon for kids to understand better about internet safety. And it's geared towards younger kids. I've shown my kid this before, and it keeps them captivated long enough to try to understand this kind of stuff. But there's a video. Oh,
What are you doing? Sorry.
Go
Is
ahead.
it available to anybody?
Yes. So if you go on the MECMEC website, there will be resources on there. Anybody can ask for it. Presentations typically like this one, you have to be like law enforcement to give those. But anything teaching your kids like the interactive stuff or things that they can watch is free for everybody to look at. So this is an example of it.
What are you doing here?
Oh, hi, Webster.
Hey, what's wrong?
Go ahead, Zion. You can tell them. They're Nat Smart's kids. They might know ways to help. Okay, so remember how I showed you some of my pins? Well, like I said, that was only some of them. I've got tons. I have a whole video channel dedicated to them. I do unboxings, ratings, cleanings, stuff like that. But I also stream myself playing video games. I've got a good number of followers, and sometimes they're playing the same game as me, and we work together on a level. Or I do a live stream and people message to ask for tips or tricks. Just normal stuff like that. But then, the other day, I got this direct message from someone in the game chat. I didn't recognize the username, but they said they had a picture of me. A really embarrassing picture of me doing something I probably shouldn't have done on live stream. But I was just goofing off. I only moved the camera because my followers dared me to. They said it'd be funny, so I did it. And this person had a screenshot picture of it. They said they'd send it to all of my followers if I didn't send it 10,000 goldies. You've got to be really good to get goldies, so sometimes people buy them or sell them. But that amount is impossible. It took me a year just to get the 600 I have now.
Wow, I'm really sorry that happened to you. Did you report them?
No, I couldn't. See, when I messaged back and asked them to delete the picture, they said no. Not until I paid the goldies. Then, when I said I'd report them, they said that I'd be the one in trouble, and that they'd send the picture anyway.
Have you told anyone else about this?
Well, now I've told you, plus Harold. I can't tell my dad, he'll get mad at me. So when I needed a trusted adult, I thought of Harold. He's our neighbor, and he's always been really nice to me. I just want to get that picture down and go back to normal.
I bet. But once something's online, it's hard to control where it goes.
That's why I'm so stressed out. What am I gonna do? Well, you've taken the first step by asking for help. I still think you should report this person. The way they threaten you is not okay.
He's right. You can report what happened directly to the site's safety team. Almost all sites have them. They may have a way to get the picture off their server.
I looked into that. The safety team and server for my channel is all the way out on Latest, which is, also part of why I came to you, Harold. Would you take me to Latest to help me get the picture down? Well, I'll help you, but you have to tell your dad first. I know it will be hard, but I'll come with you. All right, I guess. But this is not gonna be fun.
Hey, we'll tag along too. We've got your back.
So that's just an example of the things that they show, like how to report, how to do that kind of stuff, and trusted adults. If you run into a situation like that, just what you can do. And it's really good for kids to see that kind of stuff to make sure that they know that it's okay to report that kind of stuff. So that's just an example of some of the programs that they put online that you can freely look at or show your kids. So why do we start conversations when they're young? We want to start that foundation early on of talking with kids, developing your trust between them just so they're more comfortable to talk about that kind of stuff, along with everything that you talk with them about, whether it be drugs or alcohol or that kind of stuff. We want them to be able to come forward with uncomfortable things to talk to us about, because otherwise they're just going to, tell their friends about it or keep it to themselves because they're embarrassed or they're afraid. So we want to be able to have them want to come forward and tell us about these kind of things, because they could be in trouble or they could get, they could be victimized online and we wouldn't know it, or, it would be too late. And we want them to develop the critical thinking skills to be able to problem solve for themselves. We want them to be able to go online and we want to be able to know that they're going to be safe online and responsible online, and give them the skills to be able to make their own mature decisions, and avoid those kind of things from happening before they start. To be resilient, obviously, if they are victimized or if they run into situations like that, to be able to know that it's going to be okay, or they're going to be okay if they come forward and report that kind of thing. So resiliency is good too. And that'll keep them safe. Just having these conversations, I can't stress that enough. Having conversations with your kids about everything is going to be way better than, not talking to them about it at all. So inappropriate content. We have tons of inappropriate content online. Take your pick. Pornography, excessive violence. That's a big thing. I mean, everything's violence right now. It gets worse every year, but like your first person shooter games, that kind of stuff. And hate speech is growing more and more as people get more irritated with each other, from both sides of the aisle, and clash with each other about a number of different hot topics right now. Online platforms are just a hotbed of people hating each other online and harassing each other online all the time. And then risky or illegal behaviors, doing risky things online, gambling, filming themselves doing stupid things or inappropriate things, that kind of stuff. Just risky or illegal behaviors, things like that. So what can we do to be a trusted adult? These things right here. Listening, just stopping and listening to a kid is going to be really impactful, because typically, and I'll be the first one to admit that, we want to talk to them, and it's hard to just let them stop and talk to you about something that's going on, instead of letting them control that conversation and talk to you and be a good listener about what's going on with them. Stopping and letting them talk and showing them that you're actually listening to them and not interrupting them on this kind of stuff, shows them that you're paying attention and that you're listening to what they're saying. Helping them take action, like if they come to you for something, know that you're going to be the one that's going to be able to help them, and to know where to go, or to know the proper channels to do that kind of stuff. Remaining calm when a child reaches out. A lot of times our kids, if they do something stupid online, we're going to be pretty upset about that kind of thing, and I don't blame them. If they post something online that is pretty inappropriate or something like that, it's going to be hard for you to keep your cool. Kids do a lot of stupid stuff. I was there as a kid. We were all there as a kid and did our fair of stupid things. And, it's hard to put yourself in their shoes sometimes and listen to them and be calm. But remaining calm when they come to you with that problem shows them that they can come to you with that uncomfortable stuff. And hopefully it happens once and never again. But just being there for them, even if you're in a school setting or in a setting where a kid or like family, friends or something like that, and they see you as a trusted adult. These are things that you can do if they come to you for something like that. Help them to identify other trusted adults, like law enforcement, teachers, guidance counselors, anybody that they can see as a trusted adult to come forward and report these kinds of things. Is good for them to know that there are multiple avenues to go to. If they don't feel comfortable talking to one person, maybe they can come talk to somebody else that they trust. if it's at school, if they want to come talk to a teacher or something like that, their favorite teacher, they can do that. It's okay to have, like I said, it's okay to have strong emotions. It's a serious thing if they're being victimized online or if they send something online to somebody. We've talked to a lot of parents that have had kids that have been involved in that kind of stuff, and they're pretty angry about it. But we try to tell the kids that they're angry because they love you and they're disappointed, but we're scared for them all the time. We care about you guys, and when this stuff happens, it's hard not to get emotional because we care about them and we don't want them to get hurt. So we try to explain that to the kids, even though they think that their parents are going to kill them or something like that. Try to explain it to them that it's going to be okay, that they care about you, and we're upset because we care. So just trying to let them know that, like, I might be a little emotional, but I care about you, and that's why I'm emotional. So it's okay to come forward and tell me about this kind of stuff. And like I said, what you can do is don't frighten them. It might be hard to do, but try not to scream at them if they're trying to report something to you. Otherwise, they're going to shut down and not talk to you anymore about this kind of stuff. Like anything online or any kind of uncomfortable situations online, that if they get into that kind of stuff, they're not going to want to come to you and tell you about it. Listen attentively and stay calm. Tell them it's not their fault. Like I said before, kids do stupid stuff. They don't think about what they're doing. And just reassuring them that, it was not a good decision, but it's not okay for that other person to be trying to victimize you as well. And it's okay. And we can tell adults that too, that it's not your fault for them coming towards you to try to victimize you on this kind of stuff. Answer questions and help them report it. There's multiple ways to report these kind of things. And we can talk about that too, on where to report it and what to do. But a big thing, like if they see inappropriate content, teaching them what to do when they see it. It could be as simple as turning off the screen if they see something bad. Like, just shut it off.
I did that to my mom. She calls me. This guy's scamming her over the computer.
Yeah.
Like, something's wrong with it. She needs to buy a Microsoft
Yep.
certificate.
That's a big one too.
I pulled the plug.
Yeah.
I said, that's how you handle those people.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to download stuff into your computer.
They're trying to get access to your computer and let them do that kind of stuff.
That's what you do.
Or they're trying to say that you need an antivirus to get this on your computer to get rid of the stuff.
I said,
Yeah.
it's a sticker that's on the side of your computer. And
Mhm.
it's good to throw your computer in the garbage.
Yep. Letting people know that it's not okay for someone to take over your computer, and remote into your computer is big. Because once they have control of that, then it's all over after that. Yep, they control anything then. So turning off the screen or shutting it down, or just like stopping what you're doing and coming and telling somebody else about it. Like, hey, I ran into this. What do I do? Just simply, if they don't know what to do, tell them, hey, if you run into something inappropriate or that doesn't feel right, just stop what you're doing and tell me about it, and we can look at it and figure it out. But if they know what they're doing a little bit more, if they're a little older, turn the screen off, use the back button. A lot of times that works. A lot of times on a phone, you can just clear out your browser, just swipe out of it, and tell somebody about it if they run into it. Because, obviously if you're looking at a kid's internet history, they're going to see that they looked at that site or something, or accidentally came across that site. And what would you rather have? Finding out later that they looked at it, or them coming to you saying, hey, I accidentally came across this site? Like, what looks better in that situation too? So that does better. Reporting to the website or app, like if somebody's being inappropriate online, virtually every social media site and every website that you go to or every application you go to has a way to report somebody or something as inappropriate. We did it at the school with Instagram was a big thing with all the inappropriate Instagram pages that were set up. We just had every kid reported as inappropriate behavior. And I sat there and I report. I reported it over and over and over again. And then eventually Instagram takes it down like really quickly. The more people that report it, typically the faster it gets taken down.
That's the way Optimus 2 works too. You
Yeah.
can actually, like, if you go into one of these game areas and there's a kid, being rude to everyone else,
Mhm.
if 3 people or more can
Yep. Yeah. The more people that report it, it's going to show that someone's being really bad or someone's being really inappropriate. So we better take care of it faster. as opposed to one person reporting it. And then NECMEC has the cyber tip line. And with internet crimes against children investigations that we do, a lot of our, like a huge chunk of our investigation comes from cyber tips that we get from NECMEC. So say like, I don't know, Snapchat flags like child pornography coming through or getting sent to somebody or being received to somebody, like known child pornography. Snapchat will flag that and send that to NECMEC, and the NECMEC will determine what agency, law enforcement agency, to send that to for further investigation. And then they'll send it to us, and then we'll investigate it further. But that's their main thing, is to get these cyber tips and determine if it's illegal activity. And if it's illegal activity, then they send it to the proper channels for further investigation too. And then if there is like exploited children or photos, like I said before, photos or videos or anything like that, law enforcement agencies will send it, and then they can determine whether or not there's like a known victim in a jurisdiction, and then they can send that out to the jurisdiction for victims' rights, for civil cases and stuff like that, to go after that person, to sue them civilly for having their image out there too, essentially. So things to do together, go over the privacy settings with people. And this, adults, we can do this too as adults. Be sure to go over your privacy settings if you're on Facebook or any kind of social media thing, or your web browser. Go over your privacy settings. Like Facebook's big, like who can see your content, who you share your content with. So if it just says like everyone can see my page or everyone can see my posts, then everyone out there in the Facebook universe can see what you're posting. So if I look up your name on there and click on your name, click on your Facebook profile, I'll be able to go through your posts and be able to see what you're posting on there. If I go on my privacy settings and I pick just my friends can look at this kind of stuff, or friend of friends can look at this kind of stuff, then if I'm friends with you, you can look at my content. But if you're not friends with me and you click on my profile, it'll just have my name and stuff on there, and you won't be able to see what I'm looking at or posting on there. So knowing what your privacy settings are and who can access your content is really big. And a lot of times, if you update an app on your phone or something like that, it might change the privacy settings again. So anytime you update something, go back into your privacy settings and look at it to make sure that it's where you want it to be. So that's big too. Like on my privacy settings, or just my friends can look at my stuff. I don't want the entire world to see what I'm, I don't post much anyway, but I don't want someone looking at my photos and posted photos and stuff like that. So only friends can look at that kind of stuff. Showing kids how to block people, or how, like yourself, how to block people too online. Most platforms you can block somebody just by going into there's usually like 3 dots at the top of an application. You click on that and you can block somebody. Even text message or phone calls, you can block people. And we tell people this a lot. If they're being harassed by somebody online, the first step is just blocking them and like not allowing them in your life anymore. Somebody who's harassing you, even we tell adults this all the time, is if they're bothering you or harassing you, the first step you can do is stop it from happening and blocking them. And you can report it to us, but it's as simple as just blocking them from talking to you. And usually that stops it a lot, is if just by simply stopping access to yourself, they will leave you alone. And then how to report it. Like I said before, that like the 3 dots up top, most applications have those 3 dots that you can expand onto a menu and go into report. And then it'll have a whole different kind of category of what kind of activity you want to report. A lot of times it's hate speech or cyberbullying or illegal content or like inappropriate behavior or something like that. And then like a lot of times you can report on somebody else's behalf. It'll say, this stuff is happening to me, or this stuff is happening to a friend. Instagram has that a lot if you're reporting somebody. So if you know somebody that's being harassed, you can report on their behalf too. Just that kind of thing that you can learn together. And just kind of inappropriate content again, illegal behavior, offensive language, the threats of violence, underage drinking or drug use, hate speech, all that stuff is inappropriate content. And if you're a student athlete, or that kind of stuff, any of this kind of stuff can be up for athletic code violations, or even posting that stuff online. It bleeds into the school, and a lot of times the school can, penalize you for doing that stuff, because they may be doing it outside at their home or harassing somebody at their home, but a lot of times it bleeds into the school, and the school has to deal with it because they'll end up getting into a fight at school, or they'll continue going after each other at school. So it doesn't just stop there. It just bleeds. Everything bleeds into the schools, unfortunately. Everything they have, they sit online and they talk to each other. People sit and harass each other online, and then when they meet up with each other, think bad things happen. And that's a lot of times that's what happens. It just kind of reaches a boiling point at some point. So we kind of want to teach them about that, and to get away from that, and that there are consequences sometimes to what they do and what they post, and that they're going to want to try to avoid that kind of stuff. I mean, just for underage drinking or drug use, even like kids take pictures, kids take Snapchats all the time of what they're doing and put it on their story, or they'll send it to somebody else, and somebody can screenshot that you were at a party, and that's all it takes for the athletic code violation to happen, is being at that underage drinking party. And that happens all the time, and kids love to show where they're at on Snapchat or tell people where they're at, unfortunately. And they'll send photos to each other, and then somebody will look at it and say, hey, this kid was here at this party, and then they'll get in trouble. So just trying to steer them clear of that stuff too. So what's okay and what's not okay online? There's lots of things that is okay to post online. You doing, fun stuff somewhere, or going somewhere, or that kind of thing. And not okay, obviously, is sending all your personal information to people online. Somebody's not going to ask for your personal information online if it's a legitimate company or something like that. Like, they're just not going to ask for your social security number online unless it's a trusted site that you deem to be trusted, or even online, they're not going to ask for that full thing, or on the phone, they're not going to do that kind of stuff. But all that personal information should be a no-no on teaching them not to send that kind of stuff. And even adults in general should really stray away from their personal information being online. Letting them know about conversations with unknown people in an online game. Having conversations with unknown people can sometimes transition into, like I said before, them jumping off that game and talking to them into a different application. And that happens all the time, like on Roblox. They'll meet somebody on Roblox, and then that person will say, hey, why don't you jump on Kick Messenger? Kick Messenger is a big one for adults pretending to be kids. And then they'll talk to each other on there. So that's kind of something that I want to be worried about with privacy, is how much information you're sharing with somebody online when you're talking to them about that kind of stuff. Because with kids, it's not hard to, these people know how to get information out of these kids, or how to talk to them. They're going to talk to them long enough to know, where they live, or, what kind of stuff they like to do, or, what their favorite thing to do, what their favorite food is, or that kind of thing. And they're going to start getting into their personal lives, and then, they'll use that as a way to groom them and send them gifts and that kind of stuff. So just letting them know about conversations with unknown people, that scares me too. Like, if someone's online, I wouldn't want my kid really talking to somebody they don't know online, but just letting them know that what to do if they end up talking to someone like that. Mm-hmm. Creating videos on streaming services. That's all my kid looks at basically, is like kids online playing video games, or just like in their houses, like the big YouTubers or influencers. Yeah. They have their family at home and everything like that. That would scare me, posting my family online at my house. They make a lot of money doing it, but at the same time, they lose all their anonymity online and are sharing way too much for the, personally, I don't know why they do that, but I know why they do that. They make tons of money, but just that's not private at all anymore. You're throwing your entire life out there for everyone to see. So they all create videos. There's tons of people that create videos like that. Checking in or sharing current location online. A lot of adults do this too. And we kind of, for safety reasons, we always try to frown upon like when you share that, like as you're skydiving in another country or something like that, you're taking a picture of yourself doing that. That tells somebody online that you're not home right now, and that, you may be up for, nobody's at your house, so they could break in and burglarize your house. So that's one thing they teach, just for awareness purposes, is watch what you're posting online on where you're at or where you're checking in, because people see that, or people look at that kind of stuff and they'll say, well, this person's not going to be home for the next week because they're on vacation. I know where they live, so it's not going to be hard for me to burglarize them because no one's going to be home. So that kind of thing. And then sending, viewing, sharing explicit or provocative pictures, talk to them about that and their privacy with that. That should be their private thing, or our private thing is no one needs to see that. No, we don't need to send that stuff out for everyone else to see because it doesn't go away. Like some people used to think that Snapchat went away. But we can get subpoenas for Snapchat and see what they're sending to each other like a year ago. It doesn't go away. The picture might disappear, but all that data gets saved and sent to a server. So it doesn't. And kids share pictures with each other, and those pictures don't go away, and they get put online, and they're there forever. So just knowing that stuff doesn't go away online. It's not just like a physical photo. It's out there forever for everyone to see. The personal information includes like your passwords. We talked about password sharing, your home address, location, home cell phone number, email address. It's one thing to give like your address if you're like shopping on Amazon or Target or something like that. Obviously, you want to know where they want to know where they're shipping it to. But talking to people, random people online, they don't need to know that kind of stuff. They don't need to know where you live, or your phone number, your email address, or that kind of thing, because it gives them more access to your life and for them to be able to get into your life. And some of the risks of sharing that personal information can be all these things. The online scams are big because they have your information, your email address or your physical address. Identity theft, they can use that kind of information to pretend that they're you and go on and use your information to buy things, or I don't know, rent something, rent a house, rent a Verbo or something like that. Stalking is a big thing. If they know where you're living, they can stalk you and know exactly where you're at. Hacking, passwords are big for that, for hacking. Like they can get into your computer, like with what happened to you. And then the sextortion, online enticement, that kind of stuff. Sharing that personal information can really amp up those risks of being enticed online for kids. If they know where you live, they know what your favorite things are, your passwords, or any of that kind of stuff, just gives them more information about you and can be really dangerous. So what you can do, obviously, is establish rules about what they can share. Tell them what's okay to share and what's not okay to share. Learn about what you can do to report it if they feel like they've been hacked or something like that, because those are on there too. Like, I've been hacked. How many times have you seen on Facebook where somebody will post something out there and they'll say you've been hacked or something like that, like their Facebook account was hacked and someone else is posting stuff on their behalf. Physically show them how to set the privacy settings, because they might not know how to do that, because even for me, it takes a while just to dig through all of the Google stuff that you can look at, or all the Facebook stuff. All the permissions and all the passwords and all the information that's on there is just insane to me. And you could spend a ton of time digging through all that information. So just knowing about where the privacy settings are and how to change those is good to have. Help them create strong passwords. So anything like 8 characters or longer is good, but a lot of times, doing like a passphrase is good to have. So a lot of times if you have like a favorite phrase or a phrase from a movie or something like that, you can take the first letter of each word in that phrase and use that as your password, and then add some characters and some numbers in there. And you just repeat it to yourself a couple times and you've got it memorized. Like I have one that I remembered that's like 10 or 12 characters long, but I remember it because it's a phrase that I know from a movie. And it's really easy for me to remember it. So doing that can like make it impossible for someone to crack into your account. And you can play around like with that, like what's my password, or there's a password hacking app where you can type a password in and it'll tell you how long it'll take a bot to hack into it. Typing password as a password takes less than a second to get into as a bot. But if you start adding like a space in there, a number, a character, and a bunch of other various things, it'll take like 1 billion years for them to hack into it if you add all these random characters in there. So it's pretty interesting to play around with that online, is just add random passwords in there, and it'll tell you how long it'll take to crack it, which is kind of cool. So it might give you a good frame of reference. I think I just type in like password hack, or how long does it take to hack into a password, and then the site will come up and it'll show you that kind of stuff. Talk about friends lists, like who it's okay to be friends with online. Typically when they're younger, they should only be friends with people they know in the real world, people they've actually met in the real world, like people from school. Like my kid, 8 years old, he should only know people online that he knows, in real life, not somebody that he just met online that he's never met before. So knowing that and knowing who their friends are online is good. You want to know who they're friends with. And that's another thing with building that trust. Like if they start talking to someone unknown, letting them know that they can talk to you about that. Like, hey, I met this person online. And then you say, well, let's take a look at who this person is, and then telling them that's not a good idea. You shouldn't be looking at or talking to this person. That kind of thing is good. Just having that communication with them on that kind of thing. And then creating a safety plan. A big thing is with kids is they need that time offline. And it can be like a certain time at night. Shut off electronics. Your phone goes on the counter or whatever, is getting charged for the rest of the night. Don't take your phone into your room, because that's when trouble happens, is when they're online. And there's so many kids that have their phones and they're online 3 o'clock in the morning talking to people or gaming at 3 a.m, and then they have to get up at 3 hours later and they're super tired and they fall asleep at school, and that kind of just the cycle continues every single night. So it's good to have a safety plan on, if this happens to me, then I'm going to report it, or I'm going to come to you on this kind of thing. Just having a set plan on what they're going to do if certain scenarios happen is good to have. And cutting off that technology at a certain time, whether it be like 6 or 7 at night, saying, all right, we're done with the phones now, we're done doing this, it's time to take a break from this kind of thing, is good for their mental health too. Good for everybody's mental health to take a break from that kind of stuff. I know I want to look online at that kind of like Facebook or whatever, and I have to physically tell myself, you need to get off now and take a break, because it can melt your brain sometimes. It melts my kids' brains looking at it too much. A little bit about online enticement. That involves individuals communicating with someone believed to be a child with the intent to commit a sexual offense or abduction, and that includes extortion too. That's kind of like To Catch a Predator kind of thing with Chris Hansen. That's the online enticement kind of thing like that, where they'll meet somebody online pretending to be a kid and then try to schedule a meetup with them to have a relationship with them or abduct them or do something else like that with them. The sextortion kind of thing is, like I said before, sending a picture to them and then them sending the picture back and then them posting it. Send me more photos or I'm going to blast these everywhere, or send me money or I'm going to blast this everywhere, that kind of thing. How do they occur? Most social networking sites, anything you can really think of, it happens. Most happen by older teens, but a lot of times, like I said before, as young as 9 years old, kids are affected by it. A lot of teens, it's not even a big deal anymore for them to send out a nude photo to somebody else. It's common practice for them as teenagers. It's become in our society like a normalized thing to do that now. So a lot of them aren't even bothered that the photo themselves is floating around, because they know that in a day or in a couple hours, something else will come along and somebody will totally forget about them. So the attention spans are so fast now online that new stuff comes up so fast that it doesn't bother them anymore, honestly. But some kids, it might, like some kids that are hanging on the edge there, that are having a mental issues or mental crisis, that might be the one thing that sends them over the edge. That's kind of the thing we deal with. Grooming kids, exploiting their natural curiosity, gradually introducing them to explicit images, starting off small and then gradually getting them into more adult situations, like desensitizing them essentially. using their adult status to try to control them as a child, and then like offering gifts to them and gift cards and showering them with all this kind of thing. As a kid, kids would probably gravitate towards that as a reward system. Like, hey, this guy's sending me all this kind of stuff. It's not a big deal if I send one photo. So that's kind of a way they groom. And someone might, these kind of things like flattering, sending gifts, talking about what they're going to do with each other, keeping secrets, turning them against their family and friends. Like your family doesn't want us to be together, and we've been together for this long, and now they're trying to break us up. And we're going to be so happy together. Sharing or asking for revealing images, blackmailing them, like the sextortion thing, making them feel guilty or ashamed of themselves, and then asking them to meet face to face with each other is kind of like the ultimate end all thing. So some signs or red flags of grooming as a kid: calling unknown numbers or texting unknown people that you're not aware of. And that's a big thing about knowing what they're doing online. Who they're talking to online, and being involved in their online activity is really good to have that, because you're going to see them, who they're talking to, and all of a sudden they're going to be talking to somebody you don't know. And that's a red flag. And anything small, even if you think it's not a big deal, might be a big deal. Don't write it off. Receiving gifts, if you're walking up to them and they shut the screen off or minimize the screen, obviously they're doing something they're not supposed to be doing, right? That's a big one. Turning family and friends away from each other, or rejecting family and friends and then getting upset when they're not online. Like, no, you're not going online today. You got stuff to do, and them getting really upset about that. Like, I need to be online right now. I need to be online. Most kids get upset when they get their phones taken away, obviously, but really getting upset like they need to talk to somebody is kind of a red flag to look out for. So something that you can do before that happens is talk to your kid about those relationships, the healthy relationships to have. Set a policy or let them know about meeting offline for older kids. Know who your kids' friends are online. Teach your kids the warning signs about that kind of stuff. What to look out for, because if they're going to say, like, if they're going to see somebody that some pervert comes online and says, hey, I'll give you this, this, and this if you send me this, they're going to know right away, like, yeah, you're trying to get this out of me, so go away. Reporting to the police or reporting to the cyber tip line. Or some other options. And if, that's a good thing too. If someone's trying to exploit them, if they're younger, that's a good thing to report to the cyber tip line, because they're always looking for information on people that are trying to exploit somebody online. So just having that kind of information. So this is a chat log. I don't know if you can read or not. That was reported to NECMEC cyber tip line. So they'll say, want to trade, and then the kid says trade, like nudes, I'll go first, and then the kid says no, and then they send photos, and then the kid says buy your girls, keep some clothes on, and then that notification came up. The child stopped communicating and made a report to the social networking site, which in turn reported to the cyber tip line. So that tells them that it was reported to the cyber tip line. So that was a chat log that was reported. That's what you want your kid to do. That's a perfect example of what you want them to do. Tell them to go away, and then it was reported is perfect. So that's what we want to try to educate our kids to do if they run into stuff like that. So what kind of things can you report to them? Anyone who sends your child photos or videos with obscene content, anyone who asks your child to send sexual images, anyone speaking to your kid in a sexual manner, anyone who asks your child to meet in person, are some really good things to report to that cyber tip line. They'll take any kind of information you send to them. Sexting, when it comes to that kind of stuff, 19% of teens have sexted, 34% have said that they have received a text. And that's probably a pretty generous number. I'm sure there's way more than that have done it.
The Marshfield numbers are very similar to that.
Yeah.
In our
So,
resource behavior survey.
Yep. So that's a lot of kids, a lot of kids that are getting involved in that kind of stuff. So it just shows that it's out there and it's happening all the time. They could be want to impress somebody, or they want to peer pressure, or get peer pressure or threats to do it, or they're just experimenting because they're kids and they do that kind of stuff. So here's a video about that.
You probably get lots of messages every day, but what if you got one like this? What would you do? Would you send a picture? No? Cool. That's an easy way to protect yourself. But what if you'd chosen differently? What if you send the picture? They'd never share it with anyone else, right? Do you want the picture shared with others? Sorry, you no longer have a choice. It's out of your hands now. Because sometimes people we trust break that trust. Maybe the person you sent the picture to shows it to some friends. Maybe they send it to a couple friends, who send it to a couple more friends, you get the idea. It spreads, and you never know who might see it. Your little brother, your mom, other people at school,
Seriously.
even strangers could get a hold of your picture. You never really know where that picture will end up. How long it will be out there, or what the consequences will be. Don't let others decide what happens to your image. Think before you share. Learn more at netsmarts.org. And hey, if your image is already out there, know that it's not your fault. For information about removing sexual pictures and videos from the internet, visit missingkids.org/gethelpnow.
And there is a reporting section on NECMEC for adults. If their photo is circulating online, you can report that and they can try to take it down. I think it's called Take It Down, actually. But they will try to as much as they can to take it off of all platforms, a photo of that gets sent out that you don't want out there anymore. So there's that kind of stuff. Just some consequences of sexting could be humiliation, bullying, blackmail, the school discipline, obviously. If they're in possession of those photos, they could get into some police involvement for possession of the child pornography. And we've seen that a lot of times. Kids trade them like playing cards basically online and have tons of photos that we have to deal with that. So starting the conversations early obviously is big to have, always having these conversations. Give them real life examples, discuss the healthy relationships with each other. Just talk about how they can spread online, like that stuff doesn't go away, and talk about how they can be reshared and how much people are sharing it with each other. That's big for them to know that it just doesn't go away and it gets shared constantly with each other, and then reporting it to that cyber tip line too. Sextortion we talked about too, with extorting somebody for money for the photos that they sent, and this is an example of that. And this is really what happens. I mean, they send these messages constantly. Or the iTunes is big, the iTunes card. They'll give them a time frame and tell them to send that. So that's the kind of stuff that we're looking at. Don't comply with the demands because that's what they want. That's how they make their money, obviously, and that's what scammers do, is not complying with their demands online with fraud and stuff like that. Don't send that kind of stuff. Report it to the app. Don't delete the account, because if you have the account, you can report it to us and then we can look further into it. Because a lot of times if you delete the account, you can't go back and find out that account that was messaging you. So we don't want that to happen. We want you to, like, if you can take screenshots or whatever of what's happening, even with scamming, saving that kind of stuff can help us out, like getting subpoenas and stuff and sending it to that app. And then that website about your explicit content is out there too, as something to report. Bullying in technology and cyberbullying. Some examples of that would be like posting fight videos, fake profiles, mean text messages, harassing or stalking somebody, inappropriate pictures of that person, spreading rumors and gossip online. So like I said before, the differences between cyberbullying and bullying. The cyberbullying follows a kid home. They're going to be surrounded by it at home if they have a phone. It's going to be nonstop, and it's going to spread really fast. It's going to get out there. Like, kids know about everything in a matter of minutes about all the gossip and stuff like that. They have their group messages and they gossip with each other, and the information just gets out there to everybody in the school, and a wider audience that sees that kind of stuff. And these are some of the big red flags of cyberbullying. Depression is a big one. Anxiety, loneliness, not wanting to go to school, low self-esteem, isolation, getting into substance abuse. And cyberbullying may just be the tip. Like there may be some other stuff going on at home, not having a good support network at home. So that kind of thing. It may just be the thing that sends a kid over the edge to get into this kind of behavior. But cyberbullying can alone be, in rare instances, drive people to suicide. But a lot of times it's that low self-esteem to begin with, the depression to begin with, that kind of thing. And the cyberbullying comes along with it. It causes some of these issues to happen. So they might stop using the computer or the cell phone altogether, act nervous or seem depressed or nervous. Not wanting to go to school is a big one. A lot of them want to stay home. They'll call in sick. They'll pretend to be sick. We have that a lot where attendance is an issue because they don't want to come to school because they're bullied or having issues at school. Or they'll withdraw from friends and family completely and isolate themselves. So, oh, is it low? Okay.
By text, email, or on social media, a bully looks for ways to get power and control over another person to make that person feel bad and to make themselves look more powerful. If somebody bullies you, look at them and tell them to stop in a calm, clear voice. If speaking up seems too hard or not safe, walk away and tell a friend or talk to a parent, teacher, counselor, or any other trusted adult. If you're being cyberbullied, don't respond or forward the messages. Block the number on your cell phone or unfriend the person on social media. Keep evidence of the cyberbullying by saving the text, tweet, or picture and report it to an adult. If you witness bullying, speak up and let the bully know what they're doing is not okay. If the bullying continues, walk away and get help. Keep asking for help until someone listens or the situation changes. If you know someone who's been bullied, be kind to them so they'll know that they're not alone. Anyone can be the victim of bullying. People bully other people for all kinds of reasons. Bullying can hurt, both physically and emotionally, but don't blame yourself. Remember, it's not your fault. You are awesome.
Oh, you poor thing. You were just lonely and needed some attention. Here, have a cookie. Okay, guys, till next time. And don't forget to come and visit me at amaze.org or go to my YouTube channel to watch more. Bye.
What's that? Yeah. So there's lots of good websites out there to help kids try to deal with that kind of stuff going on. So cyberbully is like the main person doing the cyberbullying. The victim obviously is the one getting bullied. A bystander is somebody that's letting it happen or watching it happen or contributing to it possibly. And a lot of times in those fight videos, we see that at the high school, they'll be a part of the videoing of it, or they'll watch it happen and not do anything about it. Or there can be an upstander, somebody who steps in and says, "Hey, this isn't right. What you're doing is wrong. You need to stop it." And we want to teach kids to be upstanders and not bystanders. We want them to be able to say something or step in and say, "This isn't right. You need to stop doing it." Because typically, if one or more people step in and say, "Knock it off," they're going to probably knock it off. Usually, it takes that one person to step in, and then more people step in and start saying that it's wrong. It just takes that one person, and you can teach our kids to be that one person. What we can do together is, what you can do is support your kid and problem solve together on this kind of stuff. Making sure you save the evidence if you're being cyberbullied is big, like screenshots or saving the messages, and blocking them so they just go away is a big one. Because a lot of times they want to just talk back to them and keep getting into it, and just telling them to get away and block it is the big one. If it gets bad enough, obviously setting up new accounts or talking to the school about it if it's getting to that point, and some other things can be taken, some other measures can be taken so that they don't have contact with each other at the school, and then reporting it if it gets bad enough to that point. Some more cyberbullying behaviors. Using the computer at all hours of the day is a big one. Gets unusually upset if they can't use the computer, avoids discussions about what they're doing, uses multiple online accounts. A lot of kids have a lot of multiple online accounts. Like they'll have the account that they want you to see as an adult, and then they'll have they call it a Finsta, basically, like an account that's private that their friends can see, but adults can't see it. And they'll do all their bad stuff on that other account. So they'll have multiple accounts that they crisscross over that they get involved with. So just monitoring your kids' behavior is a big one. Establish your expectations for online and offline behavior, your consequences for cyberbullying, let them know that it's not okay. I want to teach them empathy, obviously. Like, well, what would you feel if somebody was doing this to you? The golden rule, don't do something unless you want it done to yourself, or that to that effect. Model good online and offline behavior. Like, they look to us and what we're doing in our online behaviors. And if they see us doing good things, they'll mimic that typically and want to be good. And then, like I said before, teaching your child about being an upstander, the expectations for reporting it, for standing up against people that are doing it, and for victims. And talking to this is big too, is telling your kid not to get involved with it, not to forward it on to other people. Because a lot of times that stirs the pot too, is when you get a hold of something and then you send it to another person. If you would stop and not send it to another person, then it gets stopped right there. But it just keeps going when other people send it to other people. Some tech options that we can do, like there's lots of filtering and monitoring software out there that can monitor like what your kid's looking at online. You can look at it from your phone. Family, there's a family, I can't remember what it's called, but there's through your cell phone provider, through Google, like you're able to set permissions on your kid's phone and that kind of stuff. So you can do that. The individual apps, look at those and what they can do for privacy or for monitoring what your kid gets involved in. And there's like every app just about has built-in security features that you can get involved with, that you can set permissions to. I know even for like YouTube, or for if my kid plays the Nintendo Switch, you can set a time limit to how long they play that for. Like if 10 minutes or 20 minutes, and after 20 minutes, it'll stop and not let them play anymore. You can do that for YouTube too, or YouTube Kids. You can set like viewing permissions, what they can. You can block certain people on there from viewing certain videos or whatever, what age limits they can watch. So that kind of stuff. YouTube has a lot of built-in security features on it. And then what we can do is we can connect and learn more. And a lot of times just asking your kid, like, what are the apps out there? What are people, like, what are you watching right now? Or what are you looking at right now? What are the kids in your class downloading? Or what are the popular apps right now? And we do it all the time. Just ask your kids, because they know more than us on this kind of stuff. Like, they're pretty much born with the phone in their hands. Like they're surrounded by the internet. So they're the ones that have probably more knowledge than we do. Like, I don't know if I would have been able to pick up an iPad at 8 years old and know what to do with it, but they pick it up and know exactly what to do with it, how to navigate it. And it's built for them. They know how to do it. So talking to them and asking them how to do it, I'm not ashamed to ask my kid what they're doing or how they got to a certain point. Because it just comes naturally to them. So asking them what they're involved in is really good. And just having those conversations with them is really key on that kind of thing. NetSmarts is, like I said before, is all sorts of different stuff you can teach your kids. And NECMEC has a family advocacy division for this kind of stuff, mental health, prevention strategies, legal referrals. If a kid does get involved with like sex extortion or something like that, it's all free and they can get resources from that as well. I think that's it. I got through most of it here. I think I got through what I wanted to get through on how to be safe and how to teach kids how to be safe online. And there's a lot more stuff, and it's constantly evolving and things are constantly changing. But like I said, just having a conversation with your kid about this stuff and what they're involved in is really, really all you can ask to do, is just talk to them and set your expectations for what they're supposed to be involved in. So with that, does anyone have any questions on anything? Any questions or concerns or anything like that? No? All right. Well, thanks for coming. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Just for the people here on the table, there's a flyer for the upcoming series, so you can grab one if you'd like. It's online in lots of different places.